Maybe, Mark, you come up here and talk a little bit about this. No, he can sit here.
I'm supposed to give a TV show.
Come here.
Do it
Come
now.
here. Come here. Come here. Get your ass up.
Oh, Kaya. He wants to.
You take this.
What am I supposed to say?
Genpo.
Talk about.
Oh, sorry.
Talk about your week with him.
Okay. Yes, my week with Genpo Roshi.
Yeah, and what happened at the end, because I just.
Okay. Well, as some of you know, Roshi very generously offered me the opportunity to spend a week with him in Hawaii. And it was something we've talked about for a long time. And he said that he wanted to do that for me because he felt it was necessary, that I needed to, as he put it one time, be put through the ringer and be wrung out. And of course, I was eager to do that. And Hawaii is a wonderful place. If any of you ever have the opportunity to go to the Big Island, which I'd never been to before, and the place that Roshi has that Kenjin helped him get is just amazing. But we spent a lot of time, pretty much our waking hours, talking. And I felt that he was asking me to look at myself as closely as I could, and I felt challenged. And there's a lot to say about that, but one thing I could mention that kind of came up when Charlotte was talking about her experience. I was really, in some ways, as I told Roshi when I arrived, I thought this was kind of my last chance to, whatever we want to call it, break through or be clear, or at least make sense out of this practice for myself, because I've been doing it for 50 plus years. And I felt that I'd pretty much reached the end of my rope. And I remember we were driving somewhere on the island, and Roshi, in effect, asked me, well, how do I feel about that? And the way I felt was really angry. You know, what have I been doing with my life? This practice has cost me in so many ways, and even more so the people that I love and have loved. And so I felt I've been doing all this, and, you know, of course, there's lots of pluses, but I really felt, you know, what's the point? And I mean, I could, and I have been talking about Zen for a few years myself, but I really felt that it was not just hypocritical and not just bullshit, but like I was deceiving myself in a lot of ways. And that I really couldn't go on doing that any longer. And among other things, so Roshi asked me how I felt about that. And I felt really angry, you know, with myself. And Roshi encouraged me to bring up all the anger that I had about that and just be clear about it. And to be clear that I really saw that I had gained nothing. And the more I thought about it, of course, the more infuriating that was, because I felt so much shame and so much regret, especially towards other people, my family, my brother, my father, my wife. So that brought up a lot, obviously. And also facing and being able to really say that, yes, I had gained nothing. And that I wasn't going to get anything. So that was a bitter pill to swallow, but I feel necessary. And I remember when I kind of went through this, that one of the things I realized was that yes, I had so many expectations, so many ideas about what this practice is about and what enlightenment is, even though I couldn't really articulate it. And I never have felt, no, I'm enlightened. I mean, I've passed a few koans, I've been around for decades, but I never felt, no, I'm enlightened. And so I felt, more hypocritical about that. But also recognizing that really I got nothing. And that what have I been doing? And it occurred to me that, and Roshi sort of asked me to think about this in various ways, what has been the resistance of realizing that I got nothing? Because he's been saying that all along, and people have been saying that for 2,600 years. You're not going to get anything, but we all, at least some of you in this room, probably think you're going to get something. And to give that up, so I felt actually, well, I didn't have any choice. We don't really have any choice. We can think we do, but we don't have any choice about whether or not there is such a thing to get. There's something to get. So, and what I realized, I would put one way, is that the obstacle for me, the obstacle to liberation, or whatever you want to call it, has been the idea that there's liberation. I couldn't let go of that. And it's a hard thing to let go of, because I felt that going back, I can remember how I first got interested in Zen, and I thought it's going to make a difference in my life. It's going to deal with the suffering that I have to deal with. And this is 50 years ago. I can be very clear about it. And I was at the time when I was in my 20s, I thought, there has to be something better than the way the world is. This was in the Vietnam War, back in the day. And I was willing to, put myself on the line and everything, because I just thought all these terrible things, something must be done about. I don't know what, but there's got to be something better. And so I had all this investment in what I thought Zen might be able to do for me and the world and my family. I mean, part of what was going on there was my mother was dying, and there were other people who I knew who were involved in the war, and it was just a big mess and a very sad time. So right from the beginning, I had this investment in how whatever Zen had to offer was going to offer to me, and I was going to be saved. And so for 50 years, in one way or another, I've been carrying that expectation and that hope. And so that's a lot to give up. And so that's when I felt, yeah, whatever it is that I think, or I don't know what it is that Zen has to offer, but whatever I think it has to offer has been blocking me for all these decades. And that really, for me, was a turning point. I could express it in different ways, but that seemed very simple. And Roshi has been talking, as I'm sure all you know, he talks about how we put ourselves in a box. We're always in a box. And then we think we get out of the box and we're just in another box, or a bigger box, or maybe it's not even bigger, but it's another box. But what he did ask me was, well, from this perspective, wherever after this clarity, where was I stuck? What was the box I was in? And what immediately came up for me was Zen. That was what kept me from seeing what Zen was about, and also that really not Zen. I mean, my understanding of Zen, of course, because that's all we can talk about, but that it was all those expectations, all those hopes, all those fervent wishes, So to give that up was hard to do. And yet, I remember we were sitting on Roshi's lovely deck and overlooking the tropical paradise down to the bay. What's that bay? Captain Cook Bay or something like that. Anyway, it's just a beautiful place. And I remember, I don't know if it was at that moment, but anyway, I was drinking a cup of coffee and I thought, you know, my whole life, I would pick up a cup of coffee, metaphorically speaking, and instead of drinking the coffee, I'd look around behind and think, what's this about? You know, what's really about coffee, you know, and what's the essence of this? And what's the meaning of it? And, you know, what am I going to get out of it? And I didn't drink the coffee, you know? And so it's kind of obvious, but being able to just, I mean, a lot of what Roshi's talked about so far is all relevant to what I was experiencing too. And it occurred to me, okay, when I'm drinking, you know, at last I can appreciate the coffee. So all this Zen, all this misunderstanding or my own interpretation of everything was actually keeping me from appreciating my life. And the clarity of being able to let go of those ideas and expectations allowed me to be in the present. And also allowing that there's nothing to know that, you know, fits the bill that I had constructed for it. And there's nothing other than this allowed me to appreciate this in the moment, every moment. Not every moment, I'm not finished by any means, but the possibility of really being present and really appreciating. I mean, there are two things that came up for me during that week that have stuck with me. And they're actually things that Maezumi Roshi said. And I never knew him. I never have thought much about him. I was an East Coast Zen student. My perspective was that the people in California, they didn't know what was going on. That was pure arrogance, of course. But I never really paid attention until I came here. And even so, I have so much to learn from Roshi. I don't need yet another teacher. I'd given up one already. But I don't know, I don't remember how, but I came across a remark of Maezumi Roshi's, which is, and I've repeated it several times since, have good trust in yourself. And someone brought up trust, and that's a beautiful word. And he said, have good trust in yourself, not in the self that you think you should be, but in the self that you are right now. Trust that, which I wasn't doing, you know. I thought I had to be something different, whatever, better in some way, or different in what other way, or it'd be impossible for me to be whatever I thought I should be. But trust yourself, not the self that you think you should be, but the self that you are. So that came through very strongly during that week. And the other thing, of course, of Maezumi Roshi's, which I'd been just kind of filing away, and, you know, well, he said that, and that was his kind of trademark, appreciate your life. And that never really sunk in. And it's partly because out of whatever you want to call it, arrogance or blindness, I really wasn't appreciating my life. I wasn't appreciating benefited from so much. I mean, from, of course, my wife, my children, and of course, Genpo Roshi, and all of you people, really. And to be able to feel that appreciation, that's real liberation, you know, I think. And to be able to experience gratitude has come up. I mean, we all come up with these same things. It's not such a mystery, you know, but to really allow ourselves, not force ourselves, but really allow ourselves to be grateful, you know? I mean, it seems to me sometimes, well, maybe a good practice, and maybe this is the way the paramitas are supposed to work, but, you know, instead of sitting, not that exclusively, but just try appreciating things. Just have gratitude as a practice. But then it becomes kind of artificial and automatic, and then it becomes another thing you should do. But if you allow yourself to be yourself, you will appreciate your life, and you will be grateful to all that all of us have to be grateful for. So that's my 3 cents. I don't know what we're going to talk about tonight. This is not fair. Yes, please do.